Aspect, part of the Rocky Mountain Field Institute Citizen Science Training. Learning objectives. After watching this video, volunteers will be able to define aspect and know how to measure it. Measuring the slope and aspect of the trail are part of the data collection objectives for this program. Aspect is the geographic direction towards which the land surface faces. In Colorado, the sun's position changes dramatically between seasons from summer to winter. This causes moisture, radiation, and temperature differences on the land surface, and as a result, we have two patterns. South and west facing slopes and north and east facing slopes have similar vegetation. So here we have this forest, and this one in the back. Those are all facing either north and east or south and west. And then the other pattern we see is here in the foreground, okay, is this facing south and west or north and east. So here and here as well. So take a minute to think about that. Now let's go to the next slide where I have it labeled. So this is the north here. One sec. So we have north, east, south, west, okay? So when we look at this slope, we're saying this slope is facing to the west. And this slope here is facing to the south. This forest is facing to the east. And this forest back here is facing to the north. Why do they have different vegetation patterns? Well, here in Colorado, in the summer at this latitude, the sun rises and sets pretty much right overhead. But in the winter, the sun is way in the southern sky and it's behind the mountains. As a result, the slopes that are facing to the north and facing to the east really don't get any direct sunlight because this sun is just creeping behind the mountains. As a result, there's a lot more snow buildup, moisture retention, and then we see the forests develop, and generally speaking, the height of the vegetation tells you something very general about how much moisture is available on those slopes. So here I was out in the forest and I made this video, so let's take a look. This is what is actually on the landscape up close in that picture we were just looking at. So here we see we're on the north facing slope. It's really dark. There's no sun shining. There's tree canopy fully covering the ground surface. There's ice and snow built up on the trail. But we see the sun. The sun is there. It's very close by. It's just not touching this slope here. Okay, so now here we are. We've only taken a couple of steps and we're coming to this major transition point. This is the fall line. Okay, we talked about that in the slope video. This is the easiest path for the water to take, the least amount of gravity in the way. You can see that the water is aggregating there and all of that snow is building up right in the creek area. But here we are turning the corner, okay? We're wrapping around and we're getting to the south-facing slope. Okay, notice that it's getting sunny and the snow is starting to melt. It's really slushy right there. And we're seeing that there's very little vegetation on the ground surface. See, in the other side there was grass and forbs everywhere. Now we have a lot of bare ground. This is just the decomposed granite, just the soil surface. There's some yucca, some Gambel's oak, but there's really no understory because it is so dry over on this side. There are some trees still, but they're not nearly as dense as they were before. There's nowhere near full coverage in the canopy because so much sun is hitting the surface. So how do we measure aspect? You're going to stand in the trail facing downhill, and you want to think about the compass as being connected to your body. You're not turning your wrist at all, you're holding the compass to your body. So wherever the arrows are pointing is where your eyes are pointing and your whole entire body. So you're going to get your compass into position, okay? And we're looking right through here. This is the notch. If you were holding the compass and you were looking right through there, you should see the trail coming straight away in front of you, okay? Now, the compass has a couple of different parts. This is the dial, okay? And notice that the dial has north, east, south, west on it and all of the degrees, okay? And with the dial moves the shed, okay? This is a hollow red arrow on the base plate, and it moves with the dial. And then here, this floaty arrow is Fred. Fred always points to the north, okay? You don't always have to be standing to the north. If we turn the dial right now and we put red Fred in the shed, we can see that, we would be just off center of north. So when you're standing holding your compass with your body, ideally this compass would be right here, right next to the person's body. You turn the dial until red Fred is in the shed, and then whatever number is right below the line of sight there is the aspect, the degrees, the geographic position towards which you are facing. All right, this concludes the aspect video. Please let us know if you have any questions.